So I call this channel Casual Gardening with Dustin, and then I build big over elaborate raised beds with fully automated drip irrigation systems, and I plant intensively with my plants all crammed together, and I grow as much as I can get away with, and you're completely justified if you think to yourself, there's nothing casual about the way Dustin is gardening. Why does he call it casual gardening? And I mean, I really think that, you know, the way we define casual or intense is relative. My gardening is casual compared to what you're going to find, oh hello airplane, what you're going to find on a lot of other YouTube channels. But it's probably not casual compared to some people, and if you put less effort into your garden than I do, then that's fine, do that. But my big elaborate raised beds with the automated watering systems, yes, I did put a lot of work into those up front, but what makes it casual is that now I don't have to water, and I have a nice place to sit when I am picking my vegetables or when I'm weeding or whatever. So that's nice. Similarly, this trellis that I've made for my raspberries is not necessarily casual. I could be more casual than this. I could grow them without a trellis and they'd be fine. Raspberries grew for probably thousands of years before any humans came along and said, it would be awfully nice if I didn't have to bend over so far to pick my raspberries. And that's as good as of a segue as you're going to get to growing raspberries. So first of all, I'd like to hit you with all the information that I have. And there are a lot of things that you should do and should not do and things that you should know. And we'll just go over those really quick. So first of all, you've got two basic categories of raspberries. You've got probably hundreds of cultivars of raspberries, but they fall into two categories. And those would be the summer flowering raspberries, and then the other ones that are either called everbearing or summer and fall flower fruiting raspberries. So the raspberries that fruit in the summer, they are growing first a thing called a primocane. So this is the cane that comes up on year one. It shoots up from the ground, and then in year two, their second year of growth, that is going to set flowers in the early spring, and they'll get pollinated by bees hopefully, and you're going to get fruits in June or through July. And so those are summer bearing. So they're in the second year it's called a floricane, and the first year it's called a primocane. We have to remember that. The ever-bearing or fall-fruiting raspberries, they will set fruit on their primocane. So year one, you get fruit. And then that's in the fall, because it takes a little while to grow that cane and then flower and set the fruit. And then in year two, that cane is already grown, and you can flower a little bit earlier because it's already there. You don't have to put all that energy into growing it, and you get your June or July berries just like with the other variety, but then you also the previous year got some in the fall. So that's where they're different, and you're supposed to prune them differently. The summer bearing raspberries, you're supposed to pay attention to what canes set fruit, and then when you're done picking the fruit, you're supposed to prune them down to the ground right then. And then of course the ever-bearing raspberries, if you want to only pick them in the fall, then you will prune them down to the ground after you pick their berries in the fall. Or if you want their fruits in the fall and then the following summer, you would cut them down to the ground after you pick their fruits. But one thing I seldom want to do is pay attention to where I picked my fruit, or I don't want to be picking and pruning at the same time. It's awfully nice to have a pruning day and a picking day, and these different varieties of raspberries can make it feel an awful lot like you can't have just a picking day, or you can't just come over to your raspberry garden and just graze on raspberries and not even bring any into the house, because they don't deserve them anyway. You put all that work in there, you eat your raspberries. And what that feels like to me is that I'm not allowed to be casual enough, and here's where we get casual, because I'm going to tell you how I care for my raspberries without paying attention to which ones are summer bearing and which ones are ever bearing, because I've got them both. I've got both varieties right here behind me. In fact, I might have both right behind me. And honestly, I can't tell which is which anymore. And not only that, but I had a very generous donation from my mother-in-law of many, many raspberries that have been yanked up from the ground in her garden, and I just put them with my raspberries, and I have a row of 20 raspberries, and most of them I don't even know what they are anymore. And it's fine. Without knowing that, and without being weird and hyper vigilant about how I prune them, you could even say, while I'm being casual, I am able to enjoy an awful lot of raspberries right now. And so this is where the casual part comes in. Yes, we have the rules and the things you have to know, but here is how I do it. In the spring, I look at who is growing. Like this one. This one's obviously dead because it broke off at ground level. These I will prune to the ground because they are dead. There's no way this can produce more fruit. And I just cut them out. Anything that's growing, I allow to grow. Typically, around June or July, without paying attention to whether I've got an ever-bearing or a fall-bearing raspberry, I will look at how tall things are getting, and if it's hanging way beyond, if it's grown like 4 or 5 feet beyond my trellis, I'll probably cut a couple of feet off the top just to stop it at no more than 6 feet tall. And that's not for any good reason aside from I don't want them big and floppy. So I just removed the dead stuff in the spring after it's had time to die. And then I just let the rest grow. And if it is a summer-bearing raspberry, great, I haven't lost my fruit. And if it is a fall-bearing, ever-bearing or fall-bearing raspberry, great, I haven't lost my fruit. And that way I can have this tangle of unknown varieties behind me, and I can still get my raspberries in June or July. And I can still get my raspberries in August, September. June, July, that's 4 solid months of raspberries. Nice. And I do. I finally got enough raspberries that my wife won't eat them all before they make it into the house. So it's too bad I'm leaving this raspberry patch now, and I hope the next owner enjoys it, and I hope that they're able to enjoy it casually, because I can't tell them what's what anymore. There's no way to know what's growing here, and that's okay. It's okay. They're gonna get 4 months of raspberries every year as long as they keep up this patch now. And tell you what, when I move into my new home, the first thing that's gonna go in probably is gonna be a raspberry patch, because honestly, between raspberries and strawberries, raspberries are my favorite. I have an easier time with them, and they're easier to pick, they're up off the ground, and I really appreciate that. Also, I don't think I should have grown raspberries in a raised bed. That was maybe a mistake, because raised beds every year you get a little bit of settling, and then you have to add like 2 or 3 inches of make-up compost or make-up soil on top, and then, well, it's you're burying your crowns of your strawberries when you do that, and they can die. They can get sick and die. So next time I try growing strawberries, maybe I'll try growing them in the ground. We'll see. But for now, raspberries are definitely the way to go. And if you, like me, started out knowing what you had and eventually wound up not knowing what you had, that's okay. Just cut out the dead material in the spring. And if you really feel like they're getting too thick, too dense, cut out what's making it too dense in the spring. And you'll have enough when you're done. And so spring is just going to be your pruning time. And then if you want to be like me and you don't want like 8 to 12 foot long canes just flying all over the place, around early June you can go around and give the really long ones a haircut. And that is casual raspberries. You are not following the rules. You're not keeping track of when things fruited and what that means about what you have to do to prune them. So yeah, that's how I'm casual with my raspberries, even though I built this elaborate trellis, and even though I put solar powered fairy lights on it so that at night it lights up like a runway in an airport, and I've got the automated drip irrigation system and all of that. It's still casual because I don't put a lot of work into it now.